Hey guys, Dan here. The Note series has always been the biggest and baddest all-in powerhouse of the Android world. This year is no exception as well. Last year's Note 9 was just a minor upgrade from the Note 8. However, the Note 10 Plus is a big step up for Note fans out there or anyone who just wants to get the top-end, best Android device out there. And here's why. So let's start off with the specs. 6.8-inch Dynamic AMOLED W Quad HD Plus display. For the processor, it's Exynos 9825 or the Snapdragon 855 depending on your region. 256 or 512 gigs of internal storage with expandable storage up to 1 terabyte, coupled with 12 gigs of RAM and of course 4300 mAh of battery, which supports up to 45 watt of charging, which Samsung calls Super Fast Charge 2.0. First off, the biggest difference here that you can see compared to last year's Note 9 is of course the screen. Like the S10 series, Samsung calls this the Infinity O display. Aside from the hole punch here being placed in the middle, its cutout here is actually even smaller than the S10. Coupled with a bigger 6.8-inch display, this makes the entire display even more immersive. Speaking about displays, the Dynamic AMOLED display on the Note 10 Plus has a contrast ratio of up to 2 million to 1, which makes the experience of watching movies on your device as good as any 4K high-end TVs. You can now also watch HDR 10 Plus content on your smartphone, which previously was only possible on high-end TVs. Moving on to the Note's most prominent feature, the S Pen. The S Pen on the Note was one of the main things that differentiate the Note series and the S series back in the days. It's also the main reason that drives the increasing sales of the Note series and made it one of the most popular and well-loved flagship as it is today. The new feature on this year's S Pen is a biggie, especially to Note fans out there. You can now use your S Pen and write something on the screen, and it allows you to convert your handwriting into text as simple as with just a tap. This year also brought about a few air gestures. You can now control the camera like a wizard. This is especially convenient when you're taking group selfies and your phone is placed at a place where it's not so convenient to reach. So instead of going back and forth over to your phone to adjust the camera mode, you can now do it with the S Pen's air gestures, changing from the rear to the front camera and different camera modes by swiping up, down, left, and right is easy. But then, zooming in and out kinda takes practice. Sometimes, instead of zooming in or out, I'll actually take a burst shot instead. So to me, this particular gesture still needs some getting used to. Same as on the S10, this year's Note comes with a 123 degrees ultra wide angle lens, which is a very welcome camera feature to most. There's still the same dual aperture main camera and of course the 2x telephoto lens, so basically the cameras are almost identical to that of the S10, which isn't a bad thing given that the cameras on the S10 are already as good as it can get. So like the saying goes, if it ain't broken, don't fix. The colors produced from the camera are also surprisingly natural and comes as close as what you can get on the iPhone, especially if you're talking in terms of colors being natural as compared to other Android phones out there, especially Huawei, which is usually slightly on the oversaturated side. I usually prefer photos being as natural as possible so that it'll be easier for me to edit it the way I want. There's also the added 3D depth sensing lens on the right of the camera bump here, which is absent on the smaller regular Note 10. This extra sensor allows you to take even more natural bokeh shots and enables the device for a better augmented reality experience, such as measuring real-life objects using the camera and so on, as it'll be able to detect objects and the distance of it to the phone. As for the video side, it's the usual of what you expect from today's flagship. You can shoot up to 4K 60 and super slow-mo up to 960 frames per second. Stabilization here is also one of the best you can find in a smartphone. If that simply isn't enough, there's also this super steady mode that Samsung brought over from the S10, which uses the ultra wide-angle lens to stabilize shaky videos even more. So this time round, I'd say that the Note 10 Plus checked the box for me as one of the best Android device cameras this year, and I personally would prefer it over any other Android competitors. Another prominent feature brought down from the S10 is the ultrasonic in-display fingerprint sensor. Samsung claims that this technology uses ultrasonic waves to detect the 3D data of our finger, not only the print itself, which makes it even more secure than all the other previous fingerprint sensors from any other smartphones. Although some say that it's supposed to work with just a light tap of your fingers, at times yeah, it works, but at times it doesn't. It's just one thing to take note of, despite Samsung marketing it as the fastest. But it is the most secure, that's for sure. Another feature from the S10, but is still new to the Note series, is the wireless power share. This basically turns your phone somewhat into a wireless charging power bank, which allows you to charge any wireless charging compatible device by just putting it on the back of the Note 10 Plus. Do note that if your device is below 30%, you won't be able to enable it unless you charge it up again above 30. Despite being the all-in jam-packed powerhouse you expected, Samsung finally removes the headphone jack, which is a sign that the wired era is coming to an end. It's also weird that Samsung combines the power and Bixby button together, which will take some getting used to, as you now have to reach to the left to lock your device instead of on the right like all the previous Samsung devices. Overall, it's pretty straightforward that the Note 10 Plus is indeed the best Android device of 2019. Factoring in that the Huawei Mate 30 Pro, in my opinion, is nowhere near to being a competition for the Note 10 Plus. Especially the Mate 30 series now doesn't include Google services, which may be a deal breaker for most. If you're the kind of person who wants it all and still prefer to stick on the Android side, well, the Note 10 Plus is the obvious way to go. So let me know in the comments on what you guys think of the Note 10 Plus. Or maybe even if you guys disagree with my opinion, I'll be glad to discuss and talk more about tech with you guys. If you like seeing content like this, please do like and subscribe as it'll mean a lot to me. Catch you guys later. Peace.